Major comeback by the Yankees when they were trailing 6-1. Many of us thought, here we go again, deja vu all over again.
Yep.
But Aaron Judge finally got his postseason moment.
He
Four
hit the
RBIs, big three-run home run in the
right, tied the
fourth
game.
inning, eight unanswered runs by the Yankees. What do you make of Game Three?
Yeah. Well, the Yankees did what we sort of talked about they should do, except going behind 6-1. So when it was 6-1, I said to myself, "Oh, it doesn't look good." The only bright spot I said to myself was, "Well, it's still early, so the Yankees are going to have to hold. 6 runs is enough. They're going to have a big inning here or somewhere, and then maybe they can get back in the game." And I know it was 6-3, and then Yankees tied it up, and then from there it was all Yankees from there. They held the Blue Jays offense off the board. They got to the Blue Jays bullpen like they should have, and there you go. You got your big comeback win, 9-6 win for the Yanks going into tonight's game.
The Blue Jays, as good of a defense that they are, they made two errors in this
Right,
game. One by the second baseman, California, former Yankee, and then Anthony Santander. He tried to make a diving catch, but he missed. He had a good solid performance hitting standpoint. He's been like the quiet guy on this Jays lineup, and he had his moments in this game. Vlad Jr. obviously once again continues to be the hot hitter that he is.
right.
But this was more about Aaron Judge and the Yankees keeping the lines moving. That's what really helped them. Carlos Rodon, he didn't have his best. Shane Bieber
No,
also didn't have his best.
no,
This
no.
mostly came down to the Yankees offense, and they're gonna have to repeat it again today because Cam Schlitter, he needs run support.
Right. So you're not going to apologize. The Blue Jays made those errors. The Yankees aren't going to apologize. They did what they had to do. They capitalized on the errors. That's on the Blue Jays. Um, yeah, and both starting pitches were not good. Yeah, they were out early. There was a lot of runs scored early in the game, and the Yankees have scored a bunch of runs now. Last night and in Game 2, even though they lost Game 2 in Toronto, so maybe the Yankees bats. This is what it's going to be. So I would be concerned if I'm Toronto throwing a bullpen game. I mean, they got to be worried because the Yankees have all the momentum with the hitting now. So Toronto's going to have to respond. Can they shake it off and just come back out for game 4 tonight? Will they be able to get themselves back a lead? Toronto will be able to hold the lead if they do have one. But the Yankees really, there was a big win for the Yankees, and this is the kind of game that could propel them to another victory tonight and possibly another victory on Friday in Toronto if it goes that far.
And Jazz Chisholm Jr., he had that big home run to give the Yankees the lead on that bat flip.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good
Yeah,
player. I like him. He's okay. He has
yeah,
pop. That's why the Yankees went out and got him. He's left-handed. He has pop, so he fits. He fits playing in Yankee Stadium, in my opinion.
yeah. I can't say nothing bad about the guy. He is delivering for the Yankees. Um, it was funny though. I think it was in the second inning when Schneider, the Blue Jay Schneider, went from second to home, and and Jazz Chisholm home when the ball got thrown him at second. That's when he noticed, oh, that the guy went
Oh,
home,
right,
and
right, yeah, right. I know
it's
that.
just his whole reaction to that was funny, and also the fact that he got caught yawning too in the game was also funny.
Yeah, well, that means he's the yawn is supposed he's not overly excited, I guess. But Chaz is a competitive player. And even when the Yankees, I want to say the Yankees tied the game, Toronto had that chance to retake the lead, and the Yankees bullpen held strong and they didn't give up any more runs. And they, like you said, Jazz hit a home run the next inning, and off it went. They could, and when it was 6-9, I said, "Hey, yeah, more than likely Toronto's not going to come back." I didn't think they were going to come back. It looked like they were, they got that gut punch, and I think, they lick their wounds and come back for tonight's game and try to play it. I mean, they're gonna have to pitch Toronto sooner or later if they want to win the series.
Yeah, it's an elimination game, so they're gonna need to use the
Right,
bullpen. And that was one of the things that I questioned was, are the Blue Jays gonna manage this because they used a lot in game three?
right,
So
right.
they're gonna have to be very strategic if they're gonna try to close this out um on the road. But like I told you, I did predict the Yankees at five. If you're the Yankees, you definitely feel that this is a huge confidence for you heading into game four. And Aaron Boone, you saw what Cam did in game three against the Red Sox. However, you can't expect them to repeat that same performance. So you have to be careful how you're gonna use him, number one. Number two, again, he's gonna need run support. Look what happened with the Phillies. The Phillies
Right.
rotation, they did what they had to do, but they just didn't get any
One
run
support.
support.
But no, you're right. Yep. And like so this is game 4 and 5. Potentially another game Friday. So it's all hands on deck. If I'm the manager, you got to be able to come out of the bullpen maybe in the first inning or second inning. I can't have the game either the Yankees or Toronto. I can't have the game get away. So you're gonna have to go to the bull if you have to. You're gonna have to go to the bullpen early, and they will, in my opinion.
Penguins, Rangers kicked
Oh,
off NHL yesterday, season opener. The Penguins, they spoiled Mike Sullivan's
that's an understatement.
Rangers debut. This was all Penguins, Jason, even though they scored two goals at the end of the third period.
Why they were empty
But
net.
Penguins had all the momentum. It was just they were just all over the
Uh,
Garden. Yes, sir. It was all them. Sidney Crosby is crazy to think that this is his 20th season with the same team. Um, Rangers just didn't have it in them today, and it's just first game of the season. This was all Penguins. The goalie made 25 saves, I believe it
yeah,
was,
he was pretty
26
good.
saves,
Yeah, but that's not
and and the Rangers went over two in power play. That's not gonna get
right.
the job
No, no,
done.
no.
So nothing went their way yesterday.
So I can give you the positive and the negative. So obviously the negative is they didn't score any goals. The Rangers were very hesitant. That was a big part of, in my opinion, in the whole throughout the whole game. They seemed like tentative to shoot the puck, and when they did, a lot of it got blocked or they missed the net. And the power play, the two power plays, they weren't effective. They got a couple of, I think they got one good shot on each power play. The the positive what I seen, and I also gave up some a couple of close right in the slot chances for the Penguins, which Shazerkin came up big to keep the game 0-0 or 1-0 for the majority of it. But I think the Rangers need to loosen up a little bit. They got to get some goals. Um, and I said, like, the positive to me was I did notice that at least the defense overall and the defensemen, they were a bit more. They didn't pinch as much. They were more. They played a better defensive game in front of Suzerkin. They were good on the boards. So there were some positives on the defense. They did only give up one real goal, and it was like a face off. The puck went to the net. Uh, Lafreniere went the wrong way instead of covering the guy, and he scored the goal that made it 1-0 late in the first period. And it was sort of like a fluky goal. Um, the Rangers weren't great on faceoffs, but there were some positives. I'm not going to go crazy after one game. It was a disappointment, though. So I think the Rangers are back at it Thursday night in Buffalo. So we'll see how they do in Buffalo.
That should be a game that they should. I see them winning in Buffalo, but again, it's being a regular season. So, do you think that the Rangers? Do you see them being better this year than last year, or you think it'll be equal, or what?
All right, so it's a tough pick, but I thought that they would be good last year. I really did. And it was a disaster, which we don't have to we don't have to go back into it with all the craziness that went on, playing poor defense, couldn't score on the power play, couldn't score 5-on-5. Um, there were 50-50 team chance to make the playoffs. I could see them making the playoffs, but just getting in. I can also see them missing the playoffs. Are they going to be a top team? I don't think so, unless there's something that happens that we haven't seen. But I just don't think they have enough offense to be a one of the top teams. Defensively, maybe. Again, it's only one game, but I mean, they won last year opening night. They played the Penguins. They won 6-0. So that was impressive. And then when they got to December, it was a complete disaster. With all the losses they had. But I don't know. I think they have a borderline playoff team. And until I see improvement on the offense, that's what I'm gonna say. At least for the time being.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Next up, the Mets.
Yeah.
The Mets. What do you think? Do you still think that they need to target someone in free agency, or yeah, I'll say, who do you think they should target free agency? Who would you aim for to be the next hitting instructor? Because I heard some rumor about many rumors, possibly consideration for that. I don't know how much there's truth to that, but that's just things thrown out there. So if it were up to you, who would interest you to be the hitting instructor? What play would you try to aim for free agency? And feel free to just ramble off. I'm gonna
Yeah,
give you the yes or no ramble off.
yeah, no, you know, I wanted to talk about the Mets. Okay, we could talk about the Mets for 4 hours. I know we don't have 4 hours. I could do a whole day on them. So I'll just answer your questions as you said to them. Okay, so who I want as a free agent? Well, the starting pitching was horrendous. I mean, it's terrible. So I need a pitcher who can give me innings, who has an ERA in between, at least like in the mid threes. Michael King, uh, Ranger Suarez, um, possibly um, Dylan Cease, even though hasn't had a great year. Um, I had somebody else I was thinking of too. They need some starting pitchers, so they're gonna have to go out and get two starting pitchers. The Mets starting pitching was horrendous. From June on, it was a complete disaster. You had Peterson went totally backwards from being an all-star. Cody Sanger, who was supposed to be this one of the top Mets top, he was so bad they had to put him back in the minor leagues. He was back in AAA. I mean, I never seen such stuff before. Um, for hitting wise, I mean, I can go to the Mets need every free agent if you're gonna go with that. Man, like, I would like to have Bellinger. I don't think he's gonna leave the Yankees. I would like maybe Bregman. He might be able to help the Mets because he's a good clutch hitter. I don't know. You want to pay him all that money? He's getting up there in age. Uh, the big hitter for the Phillies, who hit all the home runs for them this year. Schwarber, the Mets could take maybe a chance at him. Maybe the Mets could get him. But again, he had a career year. So is he going to hit like that next year? Is he going to have a high on base percentage and a good average like he had this year? Because he wasn't really that type of player, other than hitting home runs. So yeah, so the Mets, I think it's going to be a combination of free agents, trades. I think they're going to trade like Jeff McNeil. I would try to trade Nimmo. I would try to trade Sanger. I would try to trade a lot of players. And then with also the free agents, I would want to bring players back. Like I would like to have Pete Alonso back. I think they need Pete Alonso and another hitter, and then another hitter. Not let Pete Alonso go and you get one other player. That's not good. The Mets are going to win like that. The Mets bottom of the lineup was horrendous. So there's a lot of different options. Free agents, um, players from your minor league system have to step up. I mean, they told me they had all these hitters and all this stuff. Okay, well, we didn't see it. Anybody that they brought up, they gave a look at. Batty, uh, Lewis Angel Jr., whatever his name is. They were not good. They were not good. So I think it's going to be a combination of all these things combined. And your other question was, who would I bring in as the coaches? Does it really matter? They kept Mendoza, so I'm not a big fan of his. I would have kept Buck Showalter. I would have kept Bobby Valentine or Joe Torre. I like all those guys. But all right, so they keep him. I give him. Okay. You be fair. You give him another shot. You're the manager. It's on you. So regardless of what all your other coaches you bring in, you're still the manager. It's on you and the GM. Yeah, we could bring in Manny Ramirez. You could bring in Carlos Beltran. You could bring in Elgato Alfonso. You could bring me in as a consultant. You could bring in a whole bunch of players. But again, it's going to go on. I'm going to let David Stearns do his job over this summer because the Mets should have made the playoffs. It was disgraceful that they didn't make the playoffs. They would have lost to the Dodgers anyway. I don't think they would be not with this team anyway. Not with pitchers who can't go 5 innings. I never seen anything like it before. So also I forgot to bring up that at the trade deadline, all the trades the Mets made were all horrendous. Cedric Mullins was horrendous. I've never seen. They told, oh, he's just good center fielder. Where he was terrible. He should have been taken off the roster. That's how bad he was. The Mets went and signed Jose Sierra. He was injured the whole year. He came back. He didn't. I think he had one hit for the Mets. He had like an 0.64 average. So he was another center field guy they brought in. So you're gonna have to go get players who can play. Then also the Mets couldn't field the ball. The Mets could not field the ball, whether it was struggling with Lindor at first with Alonso. He's not a great first baseman. I would like him to play DH. They threw the ball all over third base. Mark Ventos didn't hit, so it goes on and on. So he's going to have a lot of work to do this offseason, Stearns, for the Mets to be a legitimate playoff team in World Series contender. And we'll leave it at that. I'm sorry I went on and on too long.
No, no need to apologize. I wanted that. That's why I said, I told you I was gonna give you a chance to ramble. But Cedric Mullins was a huge surprise to me to see how bad he did with the Mets because I like that guy. I like what he did in Baltimore,
No, yeah.
and it just didn't work.
Yeah,
It just
no.
didn't work with the Mets. Speaking of DH position, Mike Francesa. I like Mike. I like Mike. I like
Well, we know
listening to
he's,
him.
he's we both love him. We both, he's both like one
Whether
of our.
whether whether we agree with him or not, he's just entertaining to listen to. In his mind, in his mind, he believes that the Mets should consider Juan Soto as DH because he's such a liability on defense.
True. Well, if you do that, then you have to live with Alonso at first. If your intention is to bring him back, but I would play DH. I would DH Soto. But then then if you do that, you got to go get yourself another big hit in right fielder. So who would that be? Do you have somebody in the minor leagues that's coming up? I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I could see that. I agree with that.
Brett Beatty is someone that I'm pulling for in the Mets team, even though things haven't been going that way. So,
Inconsistent.
yeah, let's see what he does next season. So I'll wait next season to see what he does. Mark Vientos, I like him. I think
They might get
he
traded. I could see them both getting traded. I really could. Because if you're going to bring in Bregman, right, then you don't need Ventos unless you give him a different position or he DHs. But he didn't hit enough. He was a key part of the Mets. What the Mets was sex. If they were going to Mets were going to be good this season, he was a key to it, and he didn't hit. Even when he can't, he was not good. He was not good. The Mets, like I said, the Mets bottom
you
of the
need to get
lineup.
younger though. So and
Right,
Bregman is
right,
in his
well,
last tail. So
right. So that's the whole thing with the Mets. Like the Mets want to win the World Series, but you don't really have a World Series team. So you can either do a combination of bringing in free agents with younger players or bringing off younger players. I told you, or maybe before we would get together regularly, my thing was I would have used all of the Mets' top talent, top minor league prospects, and then go from there. This guy can play, he can't play, he's a potential all-star, and then I would fill in the free agents and pitch. But if you wanted to do that, you're not going to win the World Series. You're not going to compete with the Yankees. That's what they try to do, in my opinion. The Mets try to be like the Yankees, but they don't realize they don't have the same players who come up to do the same thing. So they're trying to go into free agent and spend ridiculous overpaying for people who the Brewers don't overpay for anybody. They have the best hitting team in baseball right now, one of the best. Do they go out and give everyone $40 million? No, because they know that it works for 1 year or so, and then that player goes right back into an average on base percentage / hitter, and you're stuck paying all this money when you could just use a minor league player and get almost the same type of production if you have that. So that's part of what the Mets need to figure out. And this whole thing, like when the Mets were falling apart in June, you got to make a trade. I can't wait. I mean, you have to make a trade. I couldn't wait to July 31st or August 1st, whenever the trading deadline is. You had to make a trade then. You had to bring somebody in then. You had to shake up the team. That's what you have to do. That's your job. If you want, you could hire me and I'll do that. No worries. It's not that difficult. I'm
It's
sorry.
gonna be a long off season for that Mets GM. No, 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 it's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be a long off season, but hey, that's what that comes with the territory when you're
Right.
running a team. You got to make some decisions, and you know the 2021 Braves, they were a great example in terms of making clutch trades in the midseason when they added Eddie Rosario, who went up being the NLCS MVP
Right.
that year.
Yes, I
Jorge
remember.
Soler, who was the MVP of the World Series. So they like when you make changes, when you add players to the team, they don't have to be like a five-star player. They don't. You
No,
just
no,
have
of
to get
course. And you're not going to
quality,
get that for every position anyway. That's almost
Yeah.
impossible. It's almost impossible to have, even if you spend a ton of money, like the Yankees try to do in the Red Sox when they were, even the Yankees try to add more plays, even with all those great plays they had the whole, I'm talking about the Derek Jeter, that era. It's hard to get players to have five tools, in every position. It just is. It's not, it's not an easy. Obviously, it's not easy.
The Mets, the first thing they need to focus on is strengthening the rotation.
Yeah.
They need to focus on that. That's the first thing. That's
Right.
the
I
first of
mean,
many things they got to
they,
focus on.
okay, so the year last year they Stearns tried to get on the. I'm not going to say on the cheap, but he brought in players without giving them starters without giving them a whole bunch of years. So he paid them more money to take a year or 2 years. So that didn't work this season. So are you going to do that now? Because that might not work again. Or you're going to go out and give, you know, like we know, you can give all the three pitchers I mentioned 2 or 3 year, 4 or 5 year contracts. But are they going to stay healthy? Are they going to pitch to the ERA you're bringing them in at? You don't know that for certain. And same thing with the relief pitching. So it's always a risk, in my opinion. Like I like what's his name? I wanted Max Fried. I wanted and you see he's the he's fantastic for the Yankees. He's pretty good for the Yankees, other than the playoff game the other day. But for the rest of the season, he's been one of the top pitchers in baseball. But did the Mets go get him? No, the Mets went out and got Frankie Montas with a 5 ERA. Who does? I wouldn't even talk to him. It was just weird to me. Tell me you have all this money, but um, they didn't do enough in the last offseason for me to think that they were going to be a real World Series contending team this season. And they showed they didn't even make the playoffs.